My dear one, you have been carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours alone, and I need to challenge something you have quietly accepted as truth. The idea that how things look right now is how they are going to stay. That belief has been robbing you of something I have been holding for you. It has been keeping you in a place of strain when I have already prepared a place of rest. You have been working so hard to figure out a way forward that you have not paused long enough to hear me say it directly, simply, clearly. Everything is going to be fine, not because the circumstances have already changed, not because the problem has already disappeared, not because the obstacle has already moved, but because I am telling you so. And when I speak something over a life, it does not return empty. When I say a word over your situation, that word carries weight that no difficulty in this world can outmatch. I do not make promises the way people make promises. When I say I will do something, the doing has already begun. The declaration of it is the start of the movement toward it. That is the nature of my word. It is not a wish. It is not an intention. It is a force that moves through time and arranges what needs to be arranged, opens what needs to be opened, closes what needs to be closed, prepares what needs to be prepared. And right now, my word is moving through the details of your situation on your behalf. So hear me again. Everything is going to be fine. Let that land somewhere deep in you. Do not brush past it. Do not read those words and keep moving as if they were just a pleasant sentiment. Sit with them. Let them do something in you. Because right now, in this very moment, those words are not just comfort. They are a foundation. They are the ground beneath your feet when everything else feels like it is shifting. They are the anchor that holds when the current gets strong enough to sweep everything else away. Plant your trust in those words. Let them be the place you return to every time the worry rises, every time the fear comes knocking, every time the circumstances whisper that nothing is changing and nothing ever will. I see the state you have been in. I know what these days have felt like from the inside. I know there have been moments when you lay quietly, and the weight of what you are dealing with settled over you like something heavy and suffocating. I know there have been moments when you tried to pray, and the words felt thin, like they could not possibly reach past the ceiling. I know there have been moments when you looked at the situation from every angle and could not find a way through. And the looking itself became exhausting because you were looking for a solution in a place where the solution hadn't yet arrived. And I know that what has made it harder is not just the problem itself, but the silence, the feeling that I was not responding, the worry that maybe I had moved on, or maybe this was too small or too complicated or too far gone. My dear one, none of that was true, not a single moment of it. When you felt like the words were not reaching me, they were, every single one. When you felt like the silence meant absence, the silence meant I was already at work. The things I do in your life do not always announce themselves with sound and movement. Sometimes the deepest work I do is quiet. Sometimes the most significant shifts happen in places you cannot see yet. You are not being ignored. You were being developed. You were not being overlooked. You were being prepared. The preparation for what I am bringing into your life requires a process that happens largely out of sight. Roots do not grow where you can watch them. They grow underground, in the dark, slowly, without visible evidence. And then one day what they have been doing shows up above the surface and you wonder how it happened so quickly. It happened because the underground work was real, even when you could not see it. I want to take you on a path through everything that is weighing on you, and I want to walk it with you carefully because you deserve more than a quick answer. You deserve to understand not just what I am saying, but why I am saying it. not just the conclusion, but the character behind the conclusion. So let us walk slowly. Let us take this one stretch at a time. The thing you are most afraid of right now, I know what it is. You have held it close and tried not to say it out loud sometimes because saying it out loud makes it feel more real, and you are already having enough trouble managing it internally without giving it more reality. But I am not afraid of it. I know what it is in full detail, every dimension of it, every complication within it, every fear that is nested inside the primary fear, every secondary consequence that is attached to the primary concern. I know all of it. And knowing all of it, I am still telling you that everything is going to be fine. That statement did not come from ignorance of the severity of what you are dealing with. It came from full awareness of it, and from full awareness of who I am in relation to it. What I am in relation to every situation in your life is this: I am larger than it. Not arrogantly, not dismissively, but genuinely, structurally, fundamentally larger than it. The thing that feels like it fills your whole field of vision right now, the thing that has become the frame through which you are interpreting everything else in your life, that thing is real and it matters, and I am not minimizing it. But your field of vision from where you stand is limited, and from where I stand, that same thing looks very different. It is not that the problem is not real. It is that from my perspective, the space around the problem is full of resources and possibilities and movements that you cannot currently see from where you are standing. And what I am trying to help you do is not deny the reality of the problem, but expand your sense of what exists in the space around it. Trust is the thing that expands that space. When you trust me, you are not pretending the problem is smaller than it is. You are choosing to factor in my presence on the other side of the problem. You are choosing to include me in the equation, and when you include me in the equation changes fundamentally, because I am not a variable that produces small adjustments at the margins. I am the variable that changes the entire structure of what is possible. I want to stay with this idea of trust for a moment, because I think you need more than a definition of it. I think you need a picture of what it actually looks like in practice, in the middle of a situation like the one you are in right now. Trust does not look like a feeling. Trust does not feel like certainty. There will be days when you trust me and it does not feel like trust. It feels like choosing to act as though something is true, even when every emotional indicator is signaling the opposite. The person who is afraid of heights and still climbs the ladder because they know the ladder is sound is exercising trust. The fear does not disappear. The height is still real, but the decision to act on the soundness of the structure rather than on the intensity of the fear, that is trust in practice. That is what I am asking of you. Not the absence of fear, not the silence of doubt, not a pretense of certainty that you do not possess. I am asking for the choice, made again and again in the ordinary moments of ordinary days, to act on what you know about me rather than on what you feel about the situation, to return to what is true about my character when the feelings about the circumstances are screaming something different, to keep walking toward the direction I am pointing you in, even when everything in you wants to stop and reassess and run a calculation on whether the destination is really worth the terrain. Here is something I want you to understand about the way I work. I do not typically remove the difficulty before I call you to trust me in it. I call you to trust me in the middle of the difficulty. I meet you in the middle of the uncertainty. I walk alongside you in the middle of what is not yet resolved. The faith that I develop in you is not the kind that is produced by easy circumstances. Easy circumstances do not develop faith. They provide relief, and relief is good, but it is not the same thing as the deep, tested, unshakable knowing that comes from having held on through something genuinely hard and found that I was worth holding on to. That kind of knowing only comes from the path you are currently on, and I need you to know that the path you are on is not punishment. It is not evidence that I am distant or displeased or working through some kind of cosmic bureaucracy before I can attend to your situation. The path you are on is the specific road I am walking with you because it leads somewhere real, somewhere important, somewhere that your journey requires. I did not put you on this path to break you. I put you on this path because you are strong enough to walk it, and because what is on the other side of it is worth the walking. Let me tell you something about the path that brought you here. This road, with all its particular challenges and unanswered questions and unrealized hopes and genuine difficulties, was not a mistake. I did not miscalculate when I allowed the path to take the shape it has taken. I am not a god who designs one route and then watches helplessly while things veer off course. The path that brought you here is known to me. Every turn of it, every difficult stretch, every place where the terrain became harder than you expected and your resources became thinner than you thought they would. I was present on all of it. I am present right now on this stretch, and I know what lies ahead on every remaining stretch of this journey. The path being hard does not mean the path is wrong. This is something the human heart needs to hear again and again, because pain so naturally becomes evidence of mistake. When something hurts, the first question the mind asks is, where is the error? Who made the choice that brought me to this painful place? What went wrong? And sometimes those are useful questions. Sometimes they lead to genuine understanding and course correction. But sometimes the pain is not evidence of an error. Sometimes the pain is simply what a particular stretch of a purposeful path feels like from the inside. The difficulty does not indicate a wrong turn. The difficulty is the terrain of the exact section of road I have called you to walk right now, and the fact that I called you to walk it means I am with you on it, and the fact that I am with you on it means you are going to make it through it. The road ahead of you is not what you fear it is. The stretch in front of you is not the endless continuation of the difficulty you have been in. There is movement coming. There is change approaching. There is something that I have been preparing that is going to enter your situation from a direction you are not currently watching. Part of what makes the arrival of provision and relief surprising is that it tends to come from the unexpected angle. The person you were not expecting, the call you did not see coming, the development that contradicts the trend, the reversal that arrives after you have almost stopped watching for it. That is how I tend to move, and there is a reason for it. When the solution comes from an angle that you could have produced on your own, it is harder to know with certainty that it came from me. When it comes from an angle that was clearly beyond your ability to arrange, the signature of my involvement is undeniable. You can look at it and say, there is no way I did that. And you are right. You didn't do that. I did. I want to tell you about the way I see your perseverance. You may feel like you have not been persevering very well. You may feel like a person who has been clinging to the edge of a cliff rather than someone who has been faithfully walking a road. What looks like hanging on by a thread from the inside often looks, from where I sit, like one of the most genuine demonstrations of faith I have ever witnessed in a human life. The fact that you are still here, still reaching for me, still choosing to bring your questions and fears to me rather than closing the door on this relationship entirely, that is perseverance. Not the pretty kind that photographs well, the real kind that holds together under pressure. Think about someone who has decided to walk a very long road. Early in the walk, there is energy and enthusiasm. The scenery is interesting. The body is fresh. the destination feels accessible. But after a long time on the road, when the enthusiasm has spent itself and the scenery has become repetitive and the body is tired and the destination is not yet in sight, the person who keeps walking is not motivated by feeling. They are motivated by something underneath feeling, a knowledge, a commitment, a decision that was made before the feelings turned, a decision to complete the journey regardless of how the middle of it feels. That is what I see when I look at you right now. Someone who made a decision about me and about this relationship that is holding, even when the feelings have flagged. That is remarkable to me. That is the kind of faith that I am most honored by. Now I want to speak to the part of you that has been comparing your situation to other situations. You have been watching other people seem to move forward while you feel stuck. You have been watching other people receive answers to prayers while you are still waiting. And without consciously choosing to, you have started to wonder whether I am playing favorites, whether something about you makes your case lower priority, whether the good things I am doing in other lives somehow suggest there is a shortage and your turn might not come. There is no shortage. There is no queue where some people get to the front and others wait indefinitely. There is no preferential treatment based on how together someone's life looks, or how spiritual their words sound, or how consistent their faith has been. What I am doing in someone else's life is not being done instead of something in yours. My capacity to work on your behalf is not diminished by what I am doing for someone else. The abundance I have available for you is entirely full. It was never touched by what I poured into someone else's situation. Every person I love is fully loved, not partially loved, not love diluted by the number of others I am loving at the same time, fully loved. Your season is yours. The specific shape of what I am building in your life cannot be compared to what I am building in another life, because I am not building the same thing. The house I am constructing for your story has a different blueprint than the one I am constructing for anyone else's story. What that means is that the timeline is different, the materials are different, the stages of construction look different. When you compare your foundation to someone else's finished walls, you are not comparing equivalent stages. You are comparing your private process to someone else's visible result. Stop measuring your unseen progress against someone else's visible arrival. You are in a different chapter. And the chapter you are in right now, as uncomfortable as it is, as uncertain as it feels, is part of a story that is going to have a powerful ending. An ending where even you are surprised by how it came together. Let me talk to you about worry, because worry has been a significant presence in your life during this season. I am not going to tell you to simply stop worrying, as if worry were a faucet you could turn off with enough willpower. I know it does not work that way. What I want to do instead is show you what worry actually is so that you can understand what you are dealing with. Worry is not just an emotional state. It is a habit of mind that is formed over years of navigating things on your own, years of having to solve your own problems, years of being let down when you trusted someone else to come through. You learned to carry things because carrying them felt safer than putting them down. You learned to worry because worry felt like control. It felt like if you stayed alert to all the possible ways things could go wrong, you could somehow prevent them from going wrong. As if vigilance itself were a form of protection, as if the attention you gave to potential problems was what kept them from becoming actual problems. But that is not how it works. Worry has never once prevented a difficulty. It has only made the anticipation of the difficulty worse. It has only added weight to days that were already heavy. It has only divided your attention between what is actually in front of you and what might possibly become a threat at some future point, making it harder for you to be fully present in the life you are actually living. And I want to give you something different. I want to give you the kind of peace that is not passive, not naive, not disconnected from the reality of your situation, but is rooted in something deeper than the situation. A peace that comes from knowing the one who holds your situation in his hands. A peace that is not based on circumstances but on character, my faithfulness. Think about your life for a moment. Think about the things you have already walked through. Think about the moments that looked impossible and then became memories of provision, of rescue, of protection, of unexpected turns that led somewhere better than where you were trying to go. Those moments were not accidents. Those moments were me. Every time you made it through something you did not think you could survive, I was the reason. Every time a door opened that should have stayed closed. Every time a resource appeared that you did not see coming. Every time the thing you feared most didn't materialize the way you dreaded. Those were not coincidences. Those were me, working in your life in ways you did not always recognize as you were living through them. And if I came through then, what makes you think I will not come through now? What about this current situation is somehow beyond what I have already demonstrated I can handle? The obstacle in front of you is not larger than the ones I have already moved in your history. The need you are carrying is not greater than the provision I have already released in your life before you even asked. I am the same God who was with you in every previous difficult season. My power is unchanged. My commitment to you is unchanged. My knowledge of your situation is complete, and my intention toward you is entirely good. Everything is going to be fine, not because I have given you a formula that forces a good outcome, not because I have made you a guarantee that removes all risk and uncertainty from your path, but because the one who walks beside you on this path is the same one who made the path, who knows every inch of it, who has never lost a traveler who trusted the walk to him. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Now I want to speak about the people you are carrying in your heart, the ones who keep you awake with concern, the children or parents or siblings or friends who are making choices you cannot control and sometimes cannot even understand. The people you love so much that the helplessness of not being able to fix their situation is its own kind of pain, added to everything else you are dealing with. You pray for them. Sometimes those prayers come easily, and sometimes they feel like they are coming out of a place of such deep tiredness and worry that you are not sure they count. I want to tell you, they all count. The confident prayers and the exhausted ones. The ones that come in full sentences and the ones that come as nothing more than a name offered with a heavy heart. Every prayer you have prayed for the people you love has been heard by the one who loves them even more than you do. I have loved the people in your life since before they existed. I know the shape of their hearts in ways even you do not fully know. I know the wounds that have made them resistant, the fears that have driven certain choices, the specific lies they have believed about themselves that have led them to some of the decisions that have hurt them and hurt you. I know the precise path that would lead them to healing, and I am not passive in pursuing that path, even when you cannot see any movement. Even when their behavior suggests the distance between what you hope for and where they actually are is only growing. My movement toward the people you love is not contingent on your ability to see it happening. Keep praying for them, not as a performance of duty, not because you feel like your prayers are the only thing standing between them and disaster, but because prayer is how you stay involved in something you cannot control. Prayer is how love participates when action has reached its limit. Prayer is the act of bringing someone from your heart before mine and saying, I trust you with this person more than I can trust my own efforts. And that act of trust opens a door that nothing else can open in the same way. There is something specific I want to say about the family relationships that have been strained in this season, the conversations that have not happened, the distance that has developed, the words that were said or not said that created a gap that has not yet been bridged. These things carry their own particular weight because they involve people who were supposed to be safe and became instead a source of their own kind of pain. I see those situations. I have not ignored them. And the same thing I am saying about everything else in your life, I am saying about those specific relationships. Everything is going to be fine. Restoration is possible. Understanding is possible. Reconnection is possible. Not necessarily on the timeline you have been hoping for, not necessarily in the exact form you have been picturing, but possible. Nothing that has happened between you and the people you love is irreversible in my hands. The work of rebuilding a relationship is different from the work of building one for the first time. The materials are different. There is history to account for, hurt to acknowledge, trust to rebuild at a pace that cannot be rushed without breaking what is being repaired. But I am the God of patient work. I am the one who does not rush what needs to be done carefully. And when I am involved in the repair of something broken between people who matter to each other, the result is stronger than what existed before the breaking. The scar tissue that forms over a wound, when it heals properly, is tougher than the original skin. That is what I do in broken relationships that are genuinely repaired. The reconnection that happens after the rupture, when it goes through the work of honesty and repair, rather than just papering over the pain, carries a quality of depth and realness that the original relationship sometimes lacked. Hold hope. Not a brittle hope that shatters if the first attempt at reconciliation goes poorly. A durable hope, one that can absorb setbacks and still remain, one that is rooted in your knowledge of my ability to work in situations that seem too far gone rather than in your assessment of whether the other person currently appears willing. Hope informed by my character, not by the most recent evidence from the situation itself. Now let me talk to you about the practical, concrete aspects of your situation. The things that require decisions, that have deadlines attached, that involve resources and logistics and other people and timelines that are not entirely within your control. I know you need more than spiritual encouragement about these things. You need the actual situations to move. You need the actual resources to appear. You need the actual decisions to land on a ground of some kind. Here is what I want to say about those specifics. Do what you can see to do. Take the step that is visible. Make the call that is yours to make. Have the conversation that you know needs to happen. Submit the application. Send the message. Make the appointment. Begin the process. Do the practical thing that is in front of you to do. And do it with the trust that I am working in the spaces between what you can do and what needs to happen. You are not responsible for the whole solution. You are responsible for the part of it that is within your reach. And when you do your part, you create the opening for me to do mine. Not because I am waiting passively for you to act before I move, but because doing what you can is an act of faith that positions you to receive what you cannot manufacture on your own. There is a rest available to you that is not on the other side of this difficulty. It is available here, in the middle of it. This is not a teaching about passive waiting. This is a teaching about a particular quality of engagement with difficulty, an engagement that is active without being anxious, that is faithful without being frantic, that is persistent without being controlled by fear. The still waters I am leading you to are not located in a season of no difficulty. They are accessible in the middle of what is not yet resolved. The green pasture exists here, in the season of the hard question, because the pasture is wherever I am, and I am here, with you. In this exact season, the path ahead of you is going to require some steps that feel uncertain. There will be moments where you have to move before the whole way is clear. There will be decisions where you must choose between the voice of fear and the voice of faith, and the voice of faith is going to be quieter. There will be stretches where you hold on to what I have promised without the confirmation of circumstances, and I am going to be in every one of those moments, guiding the step you take, clearing the path as you move forward, providing what is needed exactly when it is needed, not earlier than you need it, because what you need earlier than you need it turns into an additional burden, not a resource. I want to address the specific thing you have been quietly afraid to even voice, the fear that is underneath the fears you have been more willing to name, the fear that maybe things are not going to work out. Not just the surface fear about the specific situation, but the deeper fear underneath it, that maybe you are not the kind of person for whom things work out, that maybe the gap between the life you have hoped for and the life you are actually living is going to be permanent, that maybe the longings and desires that have been unfulfilled for so long are going to remain unfulfilled, and the thing you have been hoping for is actually a hope that was never intended to be realized. I need you to hear me very clearly on this. That fear is a lie, not a well-meaning misunderstanding, not an understandable but ultimately incorrect interpretation of your circumstances, but a lie. The specific desires that I have placed in your heart were not placed there to torture you with longing for something you would never receive. Desire itself is not cruel. I do not put something in a human heart as a form of punishment. The longings that have persisted in you for a long time are evidence not of futility, but of significance. They have lasted because they are real. They are real because I put them there, and they are there because they point towards something that I intend for your life, not as a tease, but as a direction. Trust is not the absence of questions. I am not asking you to stop wondering, stop processing, stop bringing your genuine confusion to me. Bring it all. Every unanswered question, every place where my timing seems wrong and my methods seem unclear and the silence has gone on longer than you can comfortably manage. Bring all of that directly to me. I can handle your honest wrestling. I am not a fragile deity who needs you to pretend. I am the father who welcomes the child who comes saying, I do not understand what is happening, and I need you to sit with me in it. That is not a failure of faith. That is faith in its most honest form. The faith that is most powerful is not the faith that has no questions. It is the faith that has questions and brings them to me rather than letting them become a silent case against me that is never actually argued out loud. When you bring me your doubts, I can speak into them. When you bring me your confusion, I can provide perspective. When you bring me your fear, I can offer the comfort that is specific to what you are actually afraid of, rather than a generic comfort that does not quite fit the specific shape of what you are carrying. Come to me with the real version of where you are. That is what I am asking for. There is a particular kind of courage that has been required of you in this season, not the dramatic courage that shows up in moments of obvious crisis and gets recognized by everyone who witnesses it. The quieter courage of continuing, of waking up and choosing to hold on to what you believe when there is no visible evidence to support the holding on, of maintaining faithfulness in the ordinary moments when the extraordinary reinforcement has not arrived. of loving people who are difficult to love without the reward of their immediate response, of praying when prayer feels thin, of trusting when trust requires effort. That is the courage of this season, and it is more significant than it looks from the inside. I see what you do in the places where no audience exists. I see the prayers you pray when no one else knows you are praying them. I see the way you choose to extend grace when retaliation would have been far easier and would have been fully understandable given what you have been through. I see the small acts of faithfulness that take place in the hidden places of your life every day, the ones that feel unremarkable because they happen when no one is watching, and they do not produce immediate visible reward. Those acts are accumulating into something real. They are building something in you that is becoming unshakable. And what I am building in you through the faithfulness of ordinary moments is far more durable than anything built in a single dramatic event. Your faithfulness in this season is producing a kind of strength that you will carry long after this season has passed. A depth of character, a quality of resilience, a capacity for empathy with others who are in difficult seasons, because you will have lived through one and known what it required. A faith that is no longer primarily intellectual, no longer primarily about having the right ideas, but deeply experiential, rooted in the actual lived experience of having held on through something genuinely hard and having found that what I promised was true. That kind of faith has a particular authority in it, not the authority that comes from performance or position, the authority that comes from evidence, the evidence of a life that has tested what it believes and found it to be solid. A restoration is coming to your life, not the restoration that simply returns things to what they were before the difficult season, as if the season never happened. The restoration I bring goes deeper than that. The things I restore come back better than they were. The relationships I rebuild carry a depth they did not have before the difficulty. The strength I return comes with a quality that was not present before, because it has been tested in ways it had not been before. The faith that comes out of the other side of a season like this one is different from the faith that went in. It is less about ideas and more about experience, less about what you have heard about me and more about what you have personally known of me in the hard places. That kind of faith does not shake easily. That kind of faith can be given to someone else who is in the early stages of a journey like yours. This is the promise I am placing over your life today, with my full knowledge of every detail of what you are facing, with my complete awareness of every dimension of the difficulty, and every depth of the need, and every complication within the situation. Everything is going to be fine. Your story is not over. Your story is not ending in the place where you currently are. The chapter you are in right now is a chapter, not the final word. And after the final sentence of this chapter, I am going to turn the page to what I have been preparing while you were walking through this. You have not been forgotten. You have not been overlooked. You have not been passed by in favor of someone more deserving, someone more faithful, someone with fewer failures in their history. There is no version of this where you get left behind while everyone else moves forward. There is no version where my love for you runs out at the precise moment you need it most. There is no version where I'm with you in every previous difficulty and then quietly absent from this one. I am here. I have always been here. I am going to continue being here through every remaining step of this journey. And what I am saying from that place of complete presence and complete knowledge and complete power is, trust me, not because the evidence all points toward a good outcome right now, not because the circumstances are already trending in the direction of relief, but because of who I am, because of what I have demonstrated across every relationship I have ever had with a human being who opened their life to me. Because my character is the most reliable ground you will ever stand on, more reliable than the ground of circumstances, more reliable than the ground of what you can see or touch or calculate. Trust me, because I am trustworthy. Because I have proven it, and I am going to keep proving it. Starting with the specific details of your specific situation, in ways that will become visible when it is exactly the right time for them to be visible. The step in front of you is not the last step. It is one of many, and you have taken every step that has brought you to this point, which means you have the capacity for the ones ahead, one step at a time, one day at a time, one season at a time. Not because the future is uncertain, but because the one who holds the future has asked you to trust rather than to control. And trust, real trust, moves one step at a time rather than insisting on seeing the whole path before moving at all. I love you. I have chosen you specifically, not generically. The love I have for you is particular to you, shaped to who you are, responsive to the specific contours of your life and your heart and your history. It is not the same love I have for everyone, diluted by the numbers. It is complete, full, particular love, the love that formed you before you were born, the love that has followed you through every season of your life, the love that is present right now in the details of everything you are navigating. You are held, you are seen, you are not alone on this road. Everything is going to be fine. There is something I want to speak directly into, the way you have been thinking about time. You have been measuring my faithfulness against a timeline that you determined was reasonable before you fully understood what was involved in what you were asking for. And when I did not move according to that timeline, when the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, and the thing you asked for had not yet appeared, you began the quiet revision of your expectations. You began to prepare yourself for the possibility that it was not coming. You began to hold hope a little more loosely, not because you stopped wanting it, but because holding it tightly hurt too much when it kept not arriving. I understand that response. I am not dismissing it. I am asking you to reconsider what you base the timeline on, because the foundation of that timeline was your understanding of what was required, and your understanding of what was required was limited by the position from which you were looking at the situation. The timeline you chose was based on what seemed reasonable from your position inside the story, but you are seeing the story from within one chapter. I am seeing it from outside the entire narrative. I know what needs to happen in chapters you have not yet reached before this chapter can resolve in the way it is meant to resolve. I know what is being prepared in you that is necessary for what is coming. I know what is being arranged in circumstances that are entirely outside your awareness, people being positioned in your path, doors being unlocked that have not yet been approached, connections being assembled between situations and people that must be in place before the thing you are waiting for can land in your life in a way that holds. If I gave you the answer before the preparation was complete, the answer would not hold. It would arrive in soil that is not yet ready for it, and it would not take root the way it is meant to. The timing is not cruelty. The timing is care. I am not delaying your answer because I am indifferent to your waiting. I am timing your answer because I care too much about the outcome to rush the preparation that makes the outcome lasting. You are going to look back on this season from a vantage point you do not yet have. That is not a vague comfort I am offering to make today more bearable. It is a specific and certain promise. You are going to look back on this stretch of road that feels so slow and so uncertain and so pressing, and you are going to see it with entirely different eyes than you see it with now. The things that looked like pure difficulty from inside them always looked different from the outside. Not because the difficulty was not real, not because the pain was not genuine, but because from outside the season you will be able to see what the difficulty was building, what it was producing in you, what it was making space for, what it was clearing away, who you were becoming through it. And from that vantage point, you will understand what you cannot understand right now, which is that this was purposeful, that this served something larger than the difficulty itself, that this season, which feels so hard to inhabit, was one of the most important seasons of your life, precisely because of what it was forming in the interior landscape of who you are. What is being formed in you right now is a kind of trust that only forms under weight. Easy seasons produce easy trust, the kind that is untested and therefore does not know its own strength. Hard seasons produce a different kind, the kind that has been tested. The kind that knows what it feels like to hold on when holding on requires something. The kind that can be offered to someone else who is in the early stages of struggling because it comes from actual experience rather than from theory. This is what you are building right now, in what feels like just surviving, in what feels like just getting through another day without the answers you need. You are building trust that has depth, and that depth is going to be worth everything it cost you to develop. The person you are becoming through this process of sustained trust in difficult conditions is someone who will be able to help others who face what you are facing, with the authority that comes only from having lived it. I want to tell you something specific about who you are to me, not in a general, comprehensive love for all humanity way, though that is also true, in a specific, you in particular way. I know your name. I know the particular architecture of your fears, the exact things that make you laugh, the dreams you have not yet told anyone about because they feel too fragile to expose to the risk of being dismissed or misunderstood. I know those dreams. I place them in you, not as aspirations designed to torment you through their non-fulfillment, but as a compass pointing toward where I am taking you. The things you most deeply long for tell you something real about the direction I have in mind for your life. Not perfectly, not without refinement as you grow and understand yourself and me more fully, but the deep and persistent desires of your heart are not accidents of psychology or random yearnings. They are indicators, and the one who placed them in you did so with a destination in mind. The love I carry for you is not a love that evaluates your recent performance and adjusts its intensity accordingly. It is not metered. It is not conditional. It does not expand when you are faithful and contract when you fail. It is constant in a way that the human mind finds genuinely difficult to receive because human love is so rarely like this. You have experienced love that was contingent, love that shifted based on your behavior, love that had to be earned and could be lost. And so you have unconsciously mapped that pattern onto my love, assuming that because you are imperfect, my love for you must be qualified by that imperfection. Let me dismantle that assumption directly. My love for you is not a response to your performance. It existed before your performance began. It was there in your weakness, in your wandering, in the seasons when your choices were not what they should have been, in the moments you are most ashamed of. All of me was there, loving you, not despite your imperfection in some grudging, tolerant way, loving you fully as you were, because that is the nature of the love I carry. It does not require you to be something other than what you are before it is willing to be present. the constant internal audit you have been running, reviewing whether you have been faithful enough or in the right ways or according to the standards I seem to most value. That audit is exhausting you without producing anything that serves either of us. I am not waiting for you to pass that audit before I engage with you. The audit itself is based on a misunderstanding of what I am asking. I am not asking for a performance. I am not looking for a report of your spiritual metrics. What I am asking for, the only thing I am asking for, is trust. Trust that I am who I say I am. Trust that what I have promised is real. Trust that the path I am leading you on has a purpose worth following me into. That trust, simple and sometimes very costly, is enough. It is more than enough. It is the whole of what I require. You have given the people around you the best of what you had in seasons when your best was not much. In the times when you yourself needed to receive, when your own reserves were thin and your own questions were most pressing, you still showed up for others. You still extended care when it cost you. You still chose the needs of someone else over your own need for space and rest and the room to be in difficulty without simultaneously managing the difficulties of others. That pattern of giving from emptiness has not been invisible to me. It has not gone into a void. Every genuine act of love extended from a place of personal depletion, when it is extended out of real care and not out of obligation or performance, carries a particular weight. It sows a seed in a field that will produce a harvest in proportion to what was sown. What you have given in hard seasons is coming back to you multiplied, not as a transaction, not as payment for services rendered, but as the organic result of what you have planted in the lives of the people around you and in our relationship through seasons when planting cost you more than you had to spare. Do not give up on what I have placed in your heart. I want to say that clearly and without softening it, because the temptation to give up on it is real, and it comes in forms that can feel like wisdom. It can arrive disguised as maturity. I need to be more realistic about what is possible. Perhaps what I hoped for was not actually attainable. It can come dressed as spirituality. I need to surrender this desire. True faith means holding things loosely. Wanting things too much is a form of idolatry. Some of those framings are true in their right context, but when they serve as a way to protect yourself from the continued pain of hoping for something that has not yet arrived, when surrender is actually the language of giving up on what I myself placed in you, I want to speak against that directly. The desire I put in you was not placed there to be surrendered into nothingness. It was placed there as an arrow pointing towards something I intend to bring to fulfillment. Hold on to it. Keep bringing it before me. Keep hoping for it. My timing for its fulfillment is not your timing, but my timing is perfect, and what I have placed in you will not be put to shame. The path continues ahead of you, and the path ahead is not defined entirely by the difficulty that marks the stretch you are currently on. Difficulty is real on this stretch. I am not pretending otherwise. But difficulty is not the defining characteristic of the whole road. Every path that leads somewhere worth reaching passes through terrain that is not easy. The traveler who refuses to walk when the terrain is hard never reaches the destinations that required the walking to reach. The places worth arriving at are almost always on the other side of terrain that asked something of the traveler, not as a barrier meant to screen out the unworthy, but because the terrain itself is part of the preparation. The strength you will need to receive and steward what is coming is being built right now on this stretch, in this season, through these specific difficulties. You are not behind where you should be. You are exactly where the path requires you to be at this moment, being shaped for what comes after this. Your prayers are reaching me. I want to be direct about this. because I know the experience of praying through a long silence can create doubts about whether the words are landing anywhere. They are. Every prayer you have prayed, every sincere call on my name, every broken and inarticulate cry in a moment when words were insufficient and all you could produce was the raw sound of your need, every one of those has reached me, not landed in a queue to be processed later. Reached me, the one who is fully present to you at every moment. I am not distracted by other concerns when you come to me. I am not partially engaged, mentally somewhere else while you speak. I am here, fully, attentively, with you as the complete focus of my attention in the moment of your prayer. And what I hear, I keep, and what I keep, I act on. Not always on the timeline you expect, but always. I do not receive a prayer and file it away without response. I receive a prayer and I work, sometimes visibly, sometimes invisibly, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but always in motion. Something is happening in what looks like nothing happening. This is one of the most important truths about the way I work that I want you to understand. Most of the movement I make in situations is underground, before it is visible above the surface. The seed is germinating in the dark soil before the green shoot appears. The foundation is being laid in the earth before the structure rises above ground level. What looks from the surface like no progress is often the most intensive period of preparation, the period where everything necessary for the visible breakthrough is being assembled in the places where you cannot observe it. What feels like stillness is often the prelude to sudden movement. What feels like silence is often the concentrated focus of activity in the unseen realm. I am working in your situation right now. Not waiting to work until you have done something to merit it. Working in ways you cannot yet see, toward outcomes you cannot yet imagine in their fullness. Trust what you cannot yet see. Trust the gardener who knows that the growth is happening even when the soil looks unchanged. You are held. That is the most important thing I want you to carry with you. Not held by a concept or a belief system or a practice or a community, though all of those things can be gifts. Held by a person, by me. The same one who shaped you knew your form before you arrived in it. The same one who spoke the stars into their positions is the one who knows the specific weight of what you carry and is present with you in the carrying. You are held by someone who does not lose what is placed in his hands. You are held by someone who does not tire of holding. You are held by someone whose love for you is not a function of how well you are performing in the holding situation, but simply of who you are to him. Held, right now, in this specific season, in this specific difficulty, by this specific, personal, fully attentive, deeply loving God who has not taken his eyes off you for a single moment of your life. Walk forward, one step, the one that is immediately in front of you right now, visible in the light that is currently available. Not the steps that are in shadow further down the road, not the steps that will be required in seasons you have not yet entered. This step, the one you can see. Take it with everything that I am walking beside you into it, and when that step is complete, the light will extend to the next one, and then the one after that. Always enough light for the step immediately in front of you. Always the strength needed for that step, and no less. Always the companion who knows the road walking beside you on it, step by step. This is how we do this, and this is how we will arrive where we are going. Let me talk to you about something that happens in the space between a prayer and its answer. That space, the waiting period, the season of silence between the asking and the receiving, is not empty. It feels empty. From the inside, it can feel profoundly, almost unbearably empty. But what actually inhabits that space is not emptiness. It is process. It is formation. It is the invisible but essential work that must take place before the visible answer can arrive and hold. Think about what happens when a seed is planted. The seed goes into the ground. The ground is covered, and then for a period of time, nothing visible happens. If you look at the surface of the soil, there is no movement, no evidence of any change, no indication that the seed is doing anything at all. Someone who did not understand how seeds work might conclude after a few days of watching the unchanged soil that the seed has failed, that nothing is coming, that they should dig it up and plant a different one. But of course, the seed has not failed. The seed is doing exactly what it is supposed to do in exactly the right sequence. It is germinating. It is sending down roots before it sends up a shoot. It is establishing the underground infrastructure that will support the visible growth when it appears. The growth above the surface depends entirely on the growth below it, and the growth below it is completely invisible to the observer on the surface. This is the season you are in. Not a season of nothing happening, a season of the underground work taking place that must precede what you have been waiting to see. The roots are going down. The infrastructure is being established. The conditions for the visible breakthrough are being prepared in the places where you cannot see preparation occurring. This does not make the season easier to inhabit. The awareness that something invisible is happening does not remove the discomfort of waiting for the visible, but it changes the story of what this season is. It turns a period of apparent failure into a period of necessary preparation, and that change in the story changes everything about how you can inhabit it. Stay rooted. This is the instruction for the season of underground preparation. The seed that is torn out of the ground because the waiting became too difficult cannot be replanted in the same position and expect the same result. The work it was doing is interrupted, and the interruption costs time and energy that must be expended again. Staying rooted through the season of invisible preparation is what allows the visible breakthrough to arrive into something that has been properly prepared to receive it. Stay rooted in what you know to be true about me. Stay rooted in the promises I have made. Stay rooted in the evidence of my faithfulness in your own history. Let the roots go deeper rather than pulling up and looking for more immediately promising ground. The ground you are in is not barren. It is in the process of producing something. I want to speak about a specific quality that is being developed in you through this season. The quality of learning to hold what you love with open hands. This is one of the most difficult things I ask of any human being, because the natural response to love is to grip what you love, to hold it close, to protect it from the possibility of loss. The idea of holding with open hands sounds like indifference to a heart that loves deeply. But open hands are not indifferent hands. They are trusting hands. They are hands that love deeply enough to release the outcome to someone who can carry it more safely than the gripping hands can. Open hands say, "I love this enough to let you have it. I trust you enough to believe that what you do with it is better than what I can do by holding on so tightly." This does not come naturally. It is practiced. It is chosen again and again, sometimes daily, sometimes hourly, in particularly hard seasons. The child being surrendered to your prayer rather than your management. The relationship being placed in my hands rather than engineered by your will. The outcome being left to me rather than forced by your effort. Each release is an act of trust. Each act of trust is a reinforcement of the foundation of our relationship, and the cumulative effect of many acts of trust over a sustained period is a person who has learned to walk with a particular kind of freedom that the people who grip everything tightly never experience. the freedom of someone who knows that the things they love are held by someone stronger than they are. This is what I am producing in you through the season of needing to release. Not indifference, not the deadening of your love for what you care about, but the transformation of how you hold it, from a grip that exhausts and fears and controls to an open hand that loves and trusts and remains engaged without being imprisoned by the outcome. I have walked through every hard thing you have ever walked through. This is not a figure of speech. I have been present in every difficult season of your life, not as a distant observer, but as an actual companion. I was there in the things you have never fully told anyone about. I was there in the confusion of the moments that changed you. I was there in the private grief, in the silent struggles, in the fears that lived inside you without ever being spoken out loud. I did not watch from a safe distance while you navigated those things. I was in them with you. And the fact that you have arrived at this moment, having walked through everything that preceded this moment, is itself evidence of the faithfulness of my presence. You are here. You are still here. That is not nothing. That is everything. The same presence that was with you in every previous difficult thing is with you right now in this one. The same faithfulness that brought you through what you thought you could not survive is present in this season. The same love that did not give up on you in the moments when you were most difficult to love has not given up on you now. I have not changed. My capacity has not diminished. My commitment to you has not wavered. The God who was with you then is with you now. Exactly the same, exactly as present, exactly as faithful, exactly as the love. And what I am saying to you today, from that position of full knowledge and full presence and full love, is this: everything is going to be fine. Not some things, not most things. Everything that concerns you, every detail, every person you love, every situation you are navigating, every hope you have been holding, every fear you have been carrying, everything going to be fine, because I am the God of everything that concerns you, and I have not run out of anything required to make it so. Let this be the word you carry with you. Not as a formula to repeat in order to feel better, not as a denial of the reality of what you are walking through, but as a true and certain declaration from the mouth of the one who holds your life in his hands and who speaks only what is real. Everything is going to be fine. Trust this, rest in this, walk in this. Let it be the ground beneath your feet today and every day that follows, because it is real, it is certain, and I am not able to lie. You are loved, you are held, you are not alone, and everything is going to be fine. There is one more thing I want to address before I release you into the day with what I have given you today. It is the question you have not quite voiced, even in your prayers, the one that lives just beneath the surface of every other concern, informing the way you have been approaching this entire season, but never quite coming fully to the surface. The question is not primarily about whether things are going to work out. The question is whether I am actually paying attention, whether I am actually involved, whether what is happening in your life actually matters to me in a personal and specific way, or whether you are one of many concerns in a vast system that is too large for any individual life to be genuinely seen. Let me answer that question directly. You are not a case in a system. You are not a request in a queue. You are not a need in a calculation. You are a person I made, and I know, and I love, and every detail of your life, every day of this difficult season, every prayer you have prayed, and every worry you have carried, and every hope you have held, and every person you have loved, and every loss you have walked through. All of it is present before me with a clarity and a specificity that would startle you if you could see it. Nothing about your life is vague to me. Nothing about your situation is generic. You are fully seen, fully known, fully present in my attention in a way that nothing in your experience of being known by human beings can quite prepare you to understand. But let me try to help you begin to receive it. When you think about the best moments of being truly seen and known by another person, the moments when someone understood you not just on the surface but underneath it, moments when you felt that someone saw not just what you were showing but what you were actually carrying, and they received it without judgment, those moments feel rare and precious precisely because they are rare. The seeing that human beings can offer each other has limits. It is bounded by their own perspectives and experiences and capacity for attention. I do not have those limits. My seeing is not bounded by the limitations of human perspective. I see you with a completeness that no human being can replicate, and I receive what I see with a love that has no bottom. You are fully seen by someone who can see fully, and that seeing is entirely held by love. This is the foundation under everything else I have said to you today. Not just that things are going to be fine, but that you are genuinely, specifically, personally known by the one who is going to make things fine. The provision coming into your life is not impersonal. The movement I am making on your behalf is not generic. It is tailored. It is designed for the specific shape of who you are and what you need and what you have been carrying. Because I know you, and knowing you, I love you, and loving you, I am at work in everything that concerns you. Walk forward with this. Let it be more than words. Let it reach that deep place in you where the real questions live, and let it answer them. You are known. You are loved. You are not forgotten or overlooked or left to manage things on your own. I am here, present, active, attentive, moving in the details of your life with care and specificity and an intention toward your good that does not waver. And everything that currently presses on you, everything you have brought before me and everything you have not yet brought, everything you fear and everything you hope for, all of it is in the hands of the one who holds it best. Trust this and move forward. The path continues, and I am with you on it. One step at a time, in the light that moves with you, toward what I have prepared. I want to talk to you about how to receive what you have been given today, because receiving is itself a practice, and it does not come as automatically as it might seem. You can hear the right words and still not receive them. You can be told the truth and still carry the burden as if you had not been told. The gap between hearing and receiving is the gap that is closed by intentional trust. By choosing, in the face of all the feelings that say otherwise, to act as though what you have heard is actually true. When you leave this place today, you are going to walk back into the same circumstances you were in when you arrived. The situation that was pressing on you is still going to be there. The questions that were unanswered are still going to be unanswered. The waiting is still going to be waiting. Nothing in the external world will have changed. And in that moment, when you are back inside the unchanged reality of your life, the words you have received here are going to be tested, not by a dramatic external challenge, by the ordinary weight of an ordinary moment in the ongoing difficulty. And in that moment, you will have a choice about which voice to listen to, the voice of what you can see, which says nothing is changed and things may not change, or the voice of what you have heard from me, which says everything is going to be fine. Practice choosing the second voice, not once, not twice, as many times as it is required, because it is going to be required often. Each time the worry rises and you feel it beginning to close in around your chest, each time the fear whispers that maybe things are not going to work out, each time the circumstances look unchanged and the silence feels too long, choose to return to what I have said. Bring yourself back to it. Speak it out loud if that helps. Let the hearing of it in your own voice reinforce it in your own interior. Everything is going to be fine, not because you feel it, not because the circumstances confirm it, because I said so, and I do not say things that are not true. This practice, the practice of returning to what I have said when the feelings are pushing you toward something else, is not weakness. It is not spiritual immaturity. It is not evidence that you have not grown enough in faith to simply feel certain without the effort of returning. It is what trust actually looks like in a human life. Even the strongest faith must be exercised, must be engaged, must be intentionally turned toward its object when circumstances press it to look elsewhere. The turning is the exercise, and exercise strengthens what is being exercised. Every time you turn back to what you know about me rather than forward into what you fear about the situation, you are building something that will be more solid at the end of this season than it was at the beginning, something that will serve you through every subsequent difficult season, something that will be available to give to people around you who are in the early stages of the kind of thing you are walking through now. The investment you are making in this practice of trust right now is not only for the resolution of your current situation, it is for the whole of the remaining life you will live. I am preparing you for more than just the end of this difficulty. I am preparing you for the life on the other side of it, the expanded capacity to love and serve and trust and lead that will exist in you when this is done. The version of you who arrives at the other side of this season is going to be different from the version who entered it. More settled, more rooted, more capable, more at peace. Not because easy circumstances made peace easy, because sustained trust through hard circumstances made peace deep. This is what I want for you, not just the resolution of the immediate difficulty, though I am working toward that, but the whole of what this season is producing in you, the person you are becoming through the choosing and the trusting and the releasing and the holding on. That person is who I have been building all along. Everything is going to be fine. You are going to be fine, and you are not alone. Amen. If this message brought peace to your heart today, take a moment to share it with someone who is carrying too much right now. Your act of sharing may be exactly the word they needed to hear to set down what was never meant for them to carry alone. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what needs to be spoken over your life. And leave an amen in the comments if you are choosing today to trust. Even in the middle of the uncertainty, you are not alone on this road, and you never will be. This community walks together, holds on together, and believes together. Come back and let these words find you again. God has something to say to you every single day.